There is a box. There is a puzzle. Those who stumble upon it become obsessed with it. The box! I got the box! Now I need to solve it. Solve the box. Solve the puzzle. Gotta solve it. Gotta solve it. Solve the puzzle. Today's short story's title is Unaware by N.P. Sommer. He had always had this affinity with smells in dreams. One thing is to see and remember what happens in your dreams. Some say they dream in black and white. Some say they can see bodies but no faces. Yet some others say they feel smaller. However, all those experiences are related to sight. Contrary to all of them, he remembered better what he smelled. There were so many different scents in his dreams that he could have sworn he had even smelled things that he never experienced in reality. Flowers he never saw, people he never met, and even fruits that he had just seen on TV. Wondering that this was a rare ability, he decided to use it as much as he could. So he began with a trip around the world inside of his mind. He made everyday research about different places in the world he had never been to. Every night he would stay in his room reading and watching everything he could find about countries, cities, festivals, cultures, adventures. If he stayed all night doing that, he could dream about it when he went to sleep. Of course, sometimes it took several nights of studying the same subject to have the dream, but eventually he would have it and smell it. He even became a very skilled user of lucid dreaming. Sometimes it was difficult for him to know whether he was in a dream or in reality. But eventually he would wake up and everything would clear up. He saw, therefore, no risk in doing it so often. With time, he started to feel more like a cultured man. He was able to evoke a feeling, a group of people, or an event just by the memory of its imaginary scent. The North Pole, he knew how it smelled. The Amazonas, he knew. The deep ocean, he had been there without any diver equipment and could smell the fish in the deepest of his nostrils. He felt more of an adventurer than those characters of Jules Verne. He felt more active and healthier than those gold winners in the Olympics. He had met the oldest and most unreachable places in the world only with his magical nose. So many scents were already swimming in his memories, all of them deeply impregnated in his mind. He needed no body. He needed no money. He didn't need to go out at all. He needed just his nose and his comfortable bed. All of this inside his cold, lonely house. Sleeping had always been easy for him anyway. Everything seemed to be going perfectly well for him. But one night, he had a dream he didn't expect. Even though he spent the whole night reading and learning about Kanamara Festival and expected a very interesting night, he had totally the opposite experience. He saw himself in a depressing street, completely alone except for 5 silhouettes, apparently standing several steps away from him. There was, of course, a very prominent smell. A smell that filled every corner of that unknown place. At the moment, he couldn't figure out what the smell was, but it was certainly disturbing. Not knowing what to do, he started walking towards the people before him. The figures didn't seem to move much. He could only perceive in them a slight move from side to side. As slight as that, there was a very freezing but soft breeze that made him even lonelier. There was absolutely no one to call or nothing to do but to ask those sorrowful people what was going on in that strange dream. As he was approaching them more and more, the disturbing smell became more unbearable. He almost had the urge to puke. Unfortunately, he didn't feel like he was any closer from waking up. So he kept walking. He kept walking until he realized that the smell came from 5 corpses hanging from nowhere just in front of him. Some of them were more rotten than the others. Some seemed to have just died. Some were full of worms and showing bones. The smell was something that he could recognize as the one of a dead animal at the side of a road, but 10 times worse. What was he supposed to do in that dream? What was he supposed to learn? There was nothing interesting about it. Nothing to remember. Yet, for some reason, he kept having that same dream every night since then. No matter what he read, what he saw during the day, his nights all became a real nightmare, the same one. He could see how the corpses kept rotting through time. They did nothing. They were just hanging there, moving only by the wind. The road led nowhere. It was completely empty except for the 5 corpses and the sorrowful trees. The sky was gray, just as he began to feel even when awake. He woke up as usual at dawn, alone, in silence. Some weeks ago, he would have been trying to remember correctly the scents he felt in dreams. But now he just trembled and wanted to forget. However, this time he noticed that he wasn't remembering. This time he actually smelled it right there in his room, as if the 5 corpses were just hanging there with him. But no, he was alone, as he always was. There was nothing or anybody from whom that horrible smell could come. However, it was there, right there, with him, inside of his room. Then he understood. No one else would have noticed but him, for he had been alone for several years. Therefore, nobody would have noticed his absence. He finally got his head out of his dreams and drove his attention to himself. He noticed, at last, what he was totally unaware of for more than a week. His own smell.